Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlog Banter. My name is Tucker Hazell, and this is Dev Dive, a show where I get a chance to talk to interesting game developers about their games. And today, I'm joined by Eric Feurstein, the creator and the director of Midnight Murder Club, a game that I've had a fascination with for about a year since I first saw it at the Game Awards last year. It was the first time I heard about it. I played it throughout the early access. I played a little bit of it since it came out, and we're here to talk about that game's journey, Eric's journey, how the game came to be made, all the creative decisions behind it, and Eric, thank you so much for finally sitting down with me. I've been bugging Velen and your PR to try to get this interview set up for, I'm not even joking, like 6 months, because it was like February or March when I was first reaching out, and now we're finally doing it. Thank you very much for sitting down with me.
No worries. I didn't realize I was that busy. My gosh.
Someone else was busy. I don't think
Someone
it was
else
on
was
you.
busy. Okay. Yeah.
But we are here, and we're here to talk about this game that you've spent quite a while working on. So I first want to start off with a little bit of your pre-Midnight Murder Club game design history, getting into the industry, and where your passion for working on games kind of comes from.
Sure. I mean, I can go all the way back. Do you want to?
Yeah.
All right.
We'll do a little diddly.
When I was growing up, video games were very, very different than what they are now. Surprise. And I think about this a lot because when I first started playing video games, they were on the Commodore 64. My dad and mom bought it, and they never used it. So we used it, and because it was on such a low, high, obviously, high res for the time, but looking back, obviously low res, you could see how everything was made. Everything was made out of pixels, very, very big pixels. So even as a kid, I could see like, oh, if I could figure out how to put a pixel on the screen, I could make art in this thing. I just never figured out how to do that. But at least I understood. And then one of the first things I ever purchased with my own money was called the Adventure Creation System, which I thought was to make what were called adventure games back then, but are now just point and click adventure games.
Yeah.
I thought was to make those, which I really wanted to make, but it was really to make RPGs. So I got really disappointed, and that was like $60 of a little kid's money.
We're just something like $200 now.
Yeah, inflation.
And $200 to a kid might as well be $2 million.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I didn't have an allowance. I didn't do chores. I didn't do any of that stuff. I just saved up my money to buy this thing. But as I got older and as games got more technically demanding, and by that I mean like the Nintendo and then the Super Nintendo and stuff like that, it was still very easy to see how these games were made. I didn't know how they were programmed, but I knew how art could be made. And then I went to art school for comics.
Cool.
Because I really liked to draw and I really liked comics. Unfortunately, I was much more interested in computer games than I was comics because I barely did any of my assignments. And I sat around playing Counter-Strike and teaching myself 3D Studio Max. And I made games in something called the Adventure Game Studio, AGS. And that's where it really started, my desire to make things and to make video games. And I got out of college. I didn't really know what I was going to do. I started doing illustrations for this like cell phone company that was making pre-iPhone cell phone games.
Oh, okay.
And a friend of mine from Europe was like, hey, check out this game. And it was a game called Plan of Attack, and it was a mod for Half-Life 2. One of the first mods for Half-Life 2. And I went to the website, and I thought, oh, this looks interesting. And then I noticed that the website linked back to... It was made on the RPI servers. RPI is a college that's like a 10-minute walk from where my apartment was in Troy, New York.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wait, are these guys from Troy? So I emailed them, and I was like, hey, I'm an artist. Do you guys need help?
Yeah.
So they interviewed me, and I went in to help and worked on Plan of Attack for a couple of months. And then the owner of the company that was creating Plan of Attack, he got me a contract job at Vicarious Visions.
Oh, cool.
And then that led to a full-time job at Vicarious Visions, and I was there for 9 years. And in those 9 years, again, I went from making pixel art games. My first ever game that I worked on was a Spider-Man game for the GBA that got canceled. Thank
Yeah.
God it got canceled because my art was so bad. And then I worked on
Uh-oh.
an over the hedge video game. So I did all this pixel art, and then and then the DS came out. So now I got to learn 3D, but I got to learn it again, just like with pixel art. You only get 100 polys. Oh, that's so easy to think about.
Sure.
And then, from Vicarious Visions, I left Vicarious Visions to work on my I have a children's book series that a publisher picked up. I worked on that for a little bit. Then I made a VR game called Headmaster with my friend Ben, and then the brothers, Karthik and Guha, who started Vicarious Visions, they left Vicarious Visions and started a new studio half a block from my apartment.
Wow.
And they're like, "You want to come work here?" I was like, "Well, I mean, it seems like I have to."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then I've just been at Velen ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that journey of twice in your life, parts of your game design career happened directly on kind of accident in your direct vicinity. That's like that never
Yeah.
happens to a lot of people. Most of the
No.
stories you hear are like, I had to move all the way across the country to get my dream job to like work with the people I went to. And you're like, oh, I can see it from outside my window. Hey.
Yeah, I've been. I've just felt like I've been extremely lucky. Like especially for my first job to be at Vicarious Visions and to get to know Karthik and Guha, and then like my entire career is based off of knowing them.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious for you as a part of the Velen team and knowing the people who are now Velen, who were once Vicarious Visions for so long, what you and the wider Velen team kind of see as the energy that you guys can bring to the games industry. I think you have a very unique team doing a lot of variety of unique projects, and I'm curious what that design energy is or thought process that might bring a little bit something new flavor to the games industry.
So when I worked at Vicarious Visions, I joined right after the Activision merger. I had a lot of fun. I loved it. I love working on it. I love working on all the games I worked on. And the thing was, though, that eventually you get to like, I don't know, a level of experience or something where you're like, okay, I've made enough Shrek games.
Sure.
Like, let's make something new. Let's make something. I have some ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very hard to get those ideas funded because the main things that they were focusing on at that time was Guitar Hero and then like Call of Duty and all that stuff. So it was very hard to like say like, hey, we want to do an original IP. And a lot of people there, they wanted to do that. They wanted to do that. They wanted to do that. And it was hard and it was difficult. And we couldn't quite break through to getting that trust that we could do it. So, as you said, a lot of people from VV have since joined Velen. And I think that is the main thing, was that we worked at Vicarious Visions. I mean, like I said, I worked there for 9 years. And when you talk to some people in gaming, in the industry, they'll be like, that's a long time. Like, 9 years at the same studio is a long time. And next year will be my 10th year at Velen. It's like I've worked at Velen for longer than I worked at VV, which is crazy to think. Time is moving. Time's moving too fast. I'm getting too old too fast. But anyway, so it was that like desire to make original IPs, to show off our creativity in ways that we hadn't been able to yet. And when I joined Velen was shortly after Inside came out, and that game really affected a lot of people at Velen.
Oh, really? Huh.
We talked about it a lot because it felt so good to play. It looked gorgeous. You just could see the art, and you could see the artists and all the decisions behind it. And it just felt so and we would just talk about it all the time.
Yeah. That's actually one that Inside's a game that I've heard brought up as I've done this series of interviews. I hear that brought up like at least every 5 or 6 times I talk to someone.
It wasn't necessarily like, let's make our own, side-scrolling platformer. It was, let's be intentional. Let's show off our creativity in everything. The sound design, the art, the game design, like everything. So we talked about that a lot. We talked about what we wanted to do. The main thing that we always said was, let's show off our creativity. Let's be creative. And let's be creative in a world In some ways you could say, especially now, in a world that seems to be unfortunately more focused on remakes, remasters, and sequels.
Sure. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with those, just to be clear. Not that there's anything wrong with sequels. I just finished playing the sequel to Case of the Golden Idol and had an absolutely wonderful time, and I want 100 more of those sequels. The new thing is really something that we would like to explore and show off and show it off. Everyone's perspective is different. Every single person is going to make something differently than the next person, and we just want to be able to give ourselves the freedom to show what's going on inside our heads.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that for me has been clear since I heard about Velen and saw the lineup of games that the wider studio has put out over the course of the last few years. Like, this is all over the place. All these ideas, you can feel, I think, the variety of creative energy bubbling there. And I'm curious how Midnight Murder Club fits into that. I guess we go to the origin story of where this idea comes from, how you come to think of what this game eventually becomes, and then how Velen's creative energy synergizes and ends up creating this game within the team.
Yeah. So after I left Vicarious Visions, I worked on a game called Headmaster. It was a VR game for the PSVR with my friend Ben. And when that was over with, we were like, okay, now what do we want to do? What's the next thing we want to do? And we had a lot of ideas. We pitched some things to each other. And my whole adult life, I've been watching, ever since streaming started, ever since people started putting video games on YouTube, I've been watching them. And there's particular people I watch a lot, and what they did is they played a lot of Trouble in Terrorist Town.
Okay.
And I think Trouble in Terrorist Town is one of the greatest games ever made. And Prop Hunt is one of the smartest designed games. It is one of the most interestingly designed games because it is a game where if you are playing Prop Hunt really well, you're not touching your computer. Like,
of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's like,
and you just sit in a corner.
I've done a great job. I just don't move. And I was like, I want something like that. I want to do something like that. I want to make a game that is just fun to play repeatedly, and it's weird, and I'm going to make it in Gary's mod. I'm going to do it just like Trouble in Terrorist Town. I'm just going to make it in Gary's mod. I'm going to teach myself Lua. I worked on a Half-Life 2 mod. I know how Hammer works. Like, I could do all this. I do not. I could not. So I spent a long time thinking about what could be like a fun game like Trouble in Terrorist Town or Murder or Prop Hunt. And I have this huge list of notes of game ideas. And one of them, which eventually became wildcards inside Midnight Murder Club, was random things happen that change the game. And one of the random things that happened was all the lights turned off and all you have is a flashlight.
Ah.
And I was like, hang on a second.
There's something there.
That could be the game. Like, what if that was the game? And what usually happens to me is I'll have an idea and then I can't fall asleep because I'm just picturing it and I'm designing it.
I know the feeling, yeah.
I lay awake thinking about this game and I'm like, it seems easy to do. So I couldn't teach myself Lua. I didn't know how to do that. So I went to the next best thing that I did as I just finished making a game in Unity. So I opened up Unity and I made a demo. And I called it Midnight Murder Club. And I had this whole narrative for it. It's different than the current narrative. The original narrative was you are the idle rich and you've experienced every pleasure in life and you're so bored. So what happens? Well, your friend invites you over to his mansion and he gives you a gun and a flashlight and now you're hunting each other for sport.
It's most dangerous game, but there's not the poor people.
It's the rich people turn the guns on themselves instead of on the poor.
That'd make a cool movie. Not that there's a Midnight Murder Club movie, but just like the concept
let's
of
do
the
it.
infighting and stuff. Hey.
I made a little prototype and I made it in Unity and I somehow figured out how to get it working over a network. I'm not a programmer. I don't know what I was doing, but I figured it out. I played it with some friends and then it kind of just sat on my hard drive for 10 years.
Wow. So let's give a little bit of context. I don't think you mentioned. When was it that you were coming up with these ideas inspired by TTT and making that demo?
Yeah, it was 2015.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So as of now, 10 years.
Yeah. Almost to the day is when Midnight Murder Club got released. I still have the project. You can still play the original demo. You have to jump through so many hoops to do it. You have to install a portable version of Firefox. You have to install the Unity web player, which they don't allow you to do anymore because it's so. Anyway, but I have a couple screenshots, and one of them is a screenshot of when the files were created and the last time they were touched. And the last time I think I touched Midnight Murder Club was October 2015, and we released the game.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So what I really wanted to do is I kept saying this at Velen, and nobody. I think everyone thought I was kidding, but I was very serious. I wanted to call it Midnight Murder Club 10th Anniversary Edition, just to really mess with people and be like, "Wow, this game's been around for a while." Everyone would go, "Ha ha, that's so funny." I'd be like, "No, I'm serious. Let's do it."
You got topped out of that one though.
Yeah. It floated around for 10 years, and I would play it with random people every once in a while. Like, be like, I still think there's something here, so let's play it. Install this portable version of Firefox and install Unity web player, and let's jump around and play and be like, what do you think? And I always got nice feedback. And then when we shut down Knockout City, we had a lot of internal discussions about what to do next. Yeah, it took a long time to make Knockout City. There was a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of sustained effort, and we were like, let's try to make something real fast. Let's just make something fast and let's just get it out fast. Anybody got anything? Anybody got any ideas? And I was sitting at home and I was just like, should I?
Yeah.
We haven't made a shooter yet. Like, it feels like something. At the time, it felt a little bit like not what Velen was interested in. Like, let's make a shooter. Let's shoot humans with guns. Like, we hadn't done anything like that yet. Like, specifically, Knockout City was a shooter without guns. Like, that was like the point of it.
Was there any from the like people who are accepting the pitches and things? Was there any pushback of like we're not going to make a shooter, or just something hadn't happened?
No, that was just me. That was just me in my own brain.
Okay.
I mean, the same thing. Like, when I did pitch it, I didn't pitch it as Midnight Murder Club, the title, because I was afraid is a big word, lowercase a, afraid that like having the word murder in there and having the little gun would just like be like, whoa, this feels like very off brand for Velen.
Yeah, this team made a Mario Kart game. We can't make a murder game.
Yeah, we're gonna make a murder cart. Murdery cart. Wait a minute.
Hold on. After this, you're gonna run over to the people, guys.
Yeah, I got an idea. So I pitched it as a different name completely, and I had the prototype. I had a PowerPoint. It was a very small PowerPoint, and I said, I think we could make this. We'd remake it in Viper, which is our internal engine. I think we'd remake it in Viper. I think it would be pretty cheap, and we could get this out pretty fast, and it would again show off like there's no other game like this. There is no other pitch black shooter, and I'll get to this in a second. Make a bookmark here. There's no other pitch black shooter. And I would search every couple years. I'd search and be like, has anyone scooped me yet? Has anyone scooped me yet? And it just wasn't happening. So I was like, so this is like going to be fresh, and it's going to feel new, and it's going to feel weird. And everybody seemed to like it, so they said yes. And while we were working on it, we spent a long time going back and forth on a title for the game. And I said, all right, well, the original title for the game that I was a little bit nervous to pitch to the studio was Midnight Murder Club. And Dave Pokers, our head of marketing, was like, that's a great name, let's just use that.
Do you remember any of the other ones that didn't quite make it?
Oh boy, oh geez. It was like, when you're brainstorming name titles, they get so dumb. You're like, Shadow Hunt. Nyctophobia, that was one of them, which is the fear of the dark.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think there was a game called Nyctophobia at the time.
Oh, sure.
A shot rings out in the darkness. We're like, what if we go for like Long? What if Long is like really what sets it apart? Or what
That's
if we
like
go for
poetic almost.
Yeah, yeah, or like a modern anime title. I got locked in a dark mansion with nothing but a flashlight and a gun, and now I have to shoot people to survive. Like, what if we call it that?
I don't know if you know the work of Xavier Nelson Jr.'s studio Strange Scaffold, but that's how they named their games.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, it's very surreal to have this idea that I haven't even really been nurturing it because I haven't been working on the prototype the whole time. It's just this idea that like there's a seed here. I think it can grow. I just don't know where to plant it. And for other people to see the possibility of it was really weird. Because it's like, no, wait, this is a weird little thing I made. Like, you're giving me a team to work on the weird thing. I know I asked for it, but now that you're giving it to me, now it feels too weird.
Well,
Now it
hold
feels
on,
too
there's a
real.
budget
It's
now?
like, oh no, yeah, exactly. Oh no, me just talking spends money. Oh no.
I'm curious then how the first steps of turning the prototype, exploring the design decisions you'd made 10 years prior, and exploring that with the team. What were those first steps you took to make it something in Viper and actually designing out a more fleshed out experience?
Because at the time, I have since found it, but at the time I couldn't find any of my old files. So the first thing that we did was, while the engineers, the programmers, while they were working on a first person character controller and creating the gun and creating the flashlight and just getting all that stuff ready, I remade the mansion in Blender. So I remade the mansion and quickly got it in game so that we could walk. It had no textures, it was just all gray, and just so that we could get that working. So we basically remade my prototype in Viper, played that a lot. So we have the baseline. So now where can we go? And it was a lot of showing it to people, and the way that it evolved really comes from showing it to people. Because, for instance, the audio in the game is extremely important to Midnight Murder Club. The fact that we have in-game voice chat, and if you speak and there's a closed door in front of you, the person at the other end hears it muffled as if it really does sound like it's coming through a closed door. That is so important to the game, and that was not part of the design when it was pitched.
Well, I want to explore proximity chat as I think, as you're saying, like maybe the most important part of this game, experiential design, and what makes it work in the way that it does. Where does proximity chat, you said it wasn't part of the initial design. How does that show up? Are there maybe other game design touchstones that you're experiencing around the time that use prox chat? Like prox chat is something that has exploded over the last few years, especially. And I'm curious what you see as the design possibility of proximity chat that has, obviously your game's a part of it, but has become so important to game design over the last few years.
It really came from Matt Pirog, who was the audio designer. He eventually started working on the game, but it might have been before the game. Like, he was talking about, there's this software that we use called Wise, WWISE. A lot of studios use it. It's for audio.
Mm-hmm.
It does amazing
You'll often
things.
see it when you're watching the credits. It's like the end. It's like powered by Wise.
Powered by Wise. It does amazing things. I do not understand how it works. Every time I'm in Matt's office and I'm watching him click all these things, I'm like, this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is magic. As far as I'm concerned, you are controlling a nuclear sub. But he said, there's a plugin for Wise that I think you'd really like. So we managed to download a demo to show it off, and it was the whole rooms thing. Like, you set up a room and then you tell the room, what do you sound like when a sound happens in it? Like, what's the echo? And then here's a door. How much does that door occlude the sound and change it? And we played that, and I was like, this sounds amazing. And the gunshots are going to be so amazing. And the doors open, like, it's going to sound so good. And he was like, you know, it'd be great is if we had voice chat. And I was like, yeah, man, we are a small team. We are never going to get voice chat. And then, as I'm saying that, one of the engineers working on the project, Corey, he's like, and like 3 days later, he's like, okay, we have voice chat. And we're like, okay, you have voice chat, but is it going through Wise? And he's like, oh, hang on a second. Okay, it's going through Wise. And all of that, like I said, I did not know this technology existed. Otherwise, it would have been part of the design. But I didn't know the technology existed. I don't fully remember the timeline, but the only time I really experienced it, something similar, was when I played Lethal Company.
Yeah,
and I don't remember when Lethal Company came out.
Exactly. That's early 23. Yeah. Oh no, October 2023.
October 2023. So but yeah, so their implementation obviously isn't the same as ours, but it showed the promise of it. When we finally got it in, it was all Matt and all Corey, and I'm sure other people as well, but like Matt and Corey were the ones who really like drove that possibility. And as soon as it was in, it was like, man, this changes the game so much. Like, it is so much more interesting and scary, and to be in the bedroom and to hear gunshots downstairs 4 rooms away in the kitchen, it's like frightening. And then to hear of somebody my favorite thing to do, I say hello a lot when I'm playing Midnight Murder Club because I'm in the dark and I'm always going hello. Or I'll say like, Steve, is that you? And you can't help it. Steve usually will go, no.
Yeah. Well, proximity chat. It's interesting that you phrase it through proximity chat and in the way it heightens the like horror potential of a game like this. But to me, because I'm pretty tough when it comes to horror. I watch a lot of horror movies. Not a lot scares me in games and movies. For me, it's like the comedic potential almost, and even in a horror game setting, the idea of hearing your friend, like seeing them in the dark, shooting at them, and hearing them go, "Wait, wait, wait," and then their voice gets cut off because they die. That to me is funny. That is a punchline to the moment almost. And so I've always felt the comedic potential in proximity chat, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, all of Midnight Murder Club is one big joke. And by that I mean, when I was originally designing it, the joke became, what would be really funny is if you get really good at this game, it's a black screen. Like, that's what's funny to me. And then thinking about a streamer playing the game and people coming in and saying like, stream's broken, and the streamer's like, it's not broken, it's a dark game, and they turn their flashlight on and they get shot. Like that, like it's all just like a joke. It's like, it would be so funny if the best players in the games never got to see the game because it was so dark, and if streamers were constantly getting griefed by their viewers thinking that the stream was broken. And then yeah, that's so if it starts from a joke, even though it's a very like heavy premise that you are in a mansion and if you shoot other human, like that's, that can be a heavy premise. It was always meant to be this funny weird party game of, I'm in a room, you're in a room, we don't know we're in the room together, someone else walks in the room, we both start shooting at them, and as far as I know, you're shooting, I'm shooting, we didn't realize we were standing right next to each other the whole time, and now we turned on each other, and now we're both lying there dead, but we're laughing because we didn't realize any of that was happening. It was always like tension, and then release. And the release is, we always wanted that release to be laughter.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious about how the party game aspect of this game's design mixes for you with the horror element of it, because I can't think of another horror party game, to be completely honest. I mean, there are certainly co-op horror games
Yes.
that you might say are party in the way that it's you having fun with your friends, but this game being inspired by party games, being a party game, what is that mixture of horror and party game influences that you kind of think Midnight Murder Club ultimately lands on?
It's like you can't avoid horror when you make a game about pitch black with a single flashlight. Like, you can't avoid horror. Like, I'd be very interested how you would turn that into a Hello Kitty game.
Hello Kitty would be pretty scary to like have a flashlight over the dark. Ah, what the hell is that?
It's like, Hello Kitty.
How you're always saying hello when you're playing Midnight Murder?
Yeah, that's who I'm talking to.
What if the kitty was saying hello to you and you couldn't see it and you were like, where the hell is it?
Yeah, like with our little squeaky voice. As far as I'm concerned, and as far as they're concerned, Lethal Company, Repo, those are both horror games. They call themselves horror games, but they feel different to what we would have traditionally called a horror game, like a Resident Evil or Outlast or something like that. It's like, those are horror games because there's blood, there's guts, there's rust, there's barbed wire, there's weeping sores, and like, that makes that horror. But the horror from Repo and the horror from Lethal Company are scary but sillier.
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course, yeah.
And in some ways, you could very easily make Prop Hunt a horror game, just because it's ghosts taking over props, and then, oh my god, if you've played Prop Hunt, the tightness that you feel when you are a little can and you're running down a hallway and everyone is shouting and shooting at you and you have one hit point and you're just dodging, and then you turn around the corner and turn into a bench, and then they run past you? That's scary. That's suspenseful. That is a horror game. So those are all like the feelings that I have when I'm thinking about this game. Is it's scary. Like a similar horror game that is a multiplayer horror game would be Dead by Daylight. That I would struggle a little more to put the party on, because of it's such a concerted, focused effort to defeat the evil and escape, that it's a little harder to have the goof 'em ups and the silliness happen.
Sure. Yeah.
With Midnight Murder Club, we made a very large mansion, and we did that on purpose to give you a longer time before you get to your first encounter, so that not only is the dread filling up, but also there's more of a chance that you're gonna like start narrating or
sure.
saying hello or
Fill the
listening.
silence.
Yeah, fill the silence. It used to be just a free-for-all, but then when we added Team Deathmatch, oh boy, Team Deathmatch, this was like a really surprising piece of design that I'm so glad that I learned. If you and I go into the game against each other, we're not going to talk that much. But if you put us next to each other as teams, we're going to start talking, and eventually we're going to stop talking about the game. Like, they're over there on your 6. We're going to stop talking like that, and we're going to be like, okay, I'm going to walk through this door. Oh, that thing scared me right there. Speaking of which, did you see that? And we're just going to start talking, which is the last thing you want to do, because you need to be quiet. And then we're going to start leaving our flashlight on a little too long, and we're going to get comfortable, and we're going to be like, hey, I'm just hanging out with my friend. And then in comes, bam, here's Jess, and she's shooting you with her machine gun. And you're like, oh, it's because we were talking. It's because we got too comfortable. And that is like, that is one of my favorite pieces of accidental design, is as soon as we add the team deathmatch, we were like, oh, this is what is so fun about this, is you put people in the dark, you make them a little scared. In order to not be scared, they're going to want to talk to their friend. As soon as they open their mouth, now the enemy knows where they are. Especially when you're playing with devs currently working on the game, you'll walk through the mansion and someone will go like, oh, I got to move that chair 6. It's a little too close to the door. Bang, bang, bang. It's like, I was looking at the chair. Don't shoot me.
I'm working. Come on.
I'm working here.
That's really funny. Yeah. So what is the sort of team culture like around this game as you guys have worked on it? Okay, I just want to make sure I get the timeline correct here. When you're pitching this game to Villain, it's after Knockout City is closed down, which is what, mid 23, I think.
I just recently had a birthday in September, and I did not remember how old I was. So don't ask me for time.
Fair enough. I just assumed maybe, you worked on the game, you'd remember when it shut down.
Hey man, you'd think so, but I have a hard time keeping dates in my head for some reason.
Yeah, so let's just say a year and a half of working on this game, having the team build up around it. What's what's sort of the culture that the team built up as you guys were working on this? I like what you're talking about designing the game while you're playing it with while they're play testing it. I feel like that would create a really unique vibe of creating a multiplayer game with a small team and constantly playing it together and working on it while you're also competing. What was that sort of dynamic like, working on the game with the team?
So we started very, very small. It was Doug and me. Doug was the engineer, and he was the lead engineer in Knockout City. And then he came over to help with this. So it was just Doug and I, and we were getting everything set up, getting it basically to my prototype levels. We knew we needed some environment artists and, audio and a couple more engineers, like network engineers. So as they're slowly coming on, we have to show them the game. So I showed them the pitch. I showed them the pitch video I made. They play the original prototype, and then we jump into Viper to play the new thing. And we do that over and over and over again. And the thing that I really enjoyed was everybody who played it seemed to just get it. Like, yeah, this is a game you play in pitch black. Nobody on the team ever said, well, there's going to be a little light, right? It's like they never said that because they got it. Like, this was the magic of the game is if you want information, you have to turn your light on. That's why the HUD goes away when your light's off. If you want information from where your friend is, where the enemy is, anything like that, you have to turn your light on. If you want to know how many bullets are left in your gun, you have to turn your light on.
Yeah. Or talk, both of which
Right. And
expose
then
you.
if you want information from your friend, or you want to give any information to your friend, you have to then speak, which gives you away. So the whole thing turned into like this game of chicken. Who's gonna do it first? Who's gonna open the first door? Who's gonna sprint first? Who's gonna shoot their gun first? And everyone seemed to get it, which was very nice. And it, because I didn't have to really deal with like somebody coming onto the team who didn't understand it, I didn't realize, I think, how lucky we all were that we all just like, oh yeah, no, we get it, let's just start making the game. We don't gotta do this thing. Like I said, with the VoIP, the proximity chat and Wise being added to the game, and then, you know, the benefits of being at a studio like Velen is there's a lot of people here, even if they're not on your project, so you can say, hey, we're using a spotlight for a flashlight, and what we want to have is we want it to be volumetric. Can Viper do that? And someone will go, not yet. When do you need it by? And it's like, I don't know. We have a meeting with executives in 2 weeks, and they're like, okay. And then you'll get a message from a graphics person. They'll be like, okay, I have an idea. Do you want to see it? And they'll show it to you, and you'll just be like, wizards. I'm surrounded by wizards. Playing the game with strangers is a thing that I have not really done much, because usually when I had the prototype, I was always playing with friends. And not that the people on my team were strangers, but they're not friends I've had since 2015. So like there is that little bit of, this is your first time experiencing this thing ever. There maybe was like a little bit of shock, like, oh, when he said pitch black, he meant pitch black.
Yeah.
But then what usually happened next was, it'd be funny. What if we did this? Or
Sure. Idea generation.
What if we had a mirror, and when you turn your light on, you saw you and you shot you, but it was just a mirror? Unfortunately, we never got the mirror working. But like that was like the thing, is like it just turned into, it'd be funny. Oh man, this was so funny. Or this thing happened where a guy shouted and I heard his voice, and then that happened. What if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this?
Another thing that I'm curious to sort of dig into in terms of you taking on responsibility to be game director on this project is, unless I'm not familiar with one of your projects, this is one of the first times you're director on a game. Is that true? Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So you've done you said narrative direction on Knockout City. You've done art, lots of pixel art and things. So what was the biggest challenge for you stepping into the role of game director, making those larger decisions, guiding a little bit larger team, not being one of the like specific roles on a smaller element of the game, or comparatively? What was the most challenging thing to learn about being a director as opposed to art or narrative?
Everyone's gonna say the same thing, I think, and I'll start with it, which is saying no. No is really hard, because the question that is coming to you, that you're preparing to say no to, comes from somebody who is excited about something or interested in something.
They're nervous to pitch this to their boss.
Yeah, they're potentially there's a little bit of nervousness, or they're just like, they just see it. They're like, oh, this is what we should do. And I go, I don't think so. And they're like, well, but no, it's what we should do. Like, it's the right answer, which I've experienced multiple times. It's like, oh, well, it's clear what we should do. And then someone tells me no, and I'm like, clearly you didn't listen to me. Let me pitch it 3 more times. Even big teams moving slowly have a hard time with this, but small teams moving quickly, keeping documentation up to date is very, 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 very difficult. So when QA joined the project and started QAing the game, we had game modes that were not documented. So they would get like frustrated because they didn't know what was supposed to be happening. Like they'd write bugs, and I'd be like, oh, well, that's kind of on purpose. And they didn't know that. So then they,
especially with a game of this variety in the game modes, and some of the things might have even started off as glitches, and then you turn it into an intentional thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, luckily we didn't get any bugs that said lights won't turn on. Luckily we didn't get those. They understood that. But so documentation was really big struggle, because executives at my studio, there's a lot of irons in the fire. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's other teams. They're not just paying attention to me. And what they will do is they will read documentation. And if it's not up to date, when you go into a meeting with them, they'll be like, where's this thing that I thought was going to be here? Or I have some feedback on this aspect of the game, and I'd be like, oh, don't worry, no, we've already gotten rid of that. And it's like, oh well, now everybody feels kind of out of the loop, and then you have to have a lot of meetings to try to get people back together. So, and again, this is all coming from me. I don't know if you asked the team what was frustrating to them. One, I'd be very interested
He
as
said
well.
no so much. What the hell?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He literally had one word and he said it over and over again. It's really hard to work with people, in my opinion, because there's just so many of them.
People
Yeah, there's so many people
out there. Yeah,
and everybody's different.
you can't stop making them. They're just,
Can't
they're
stop
just
making 'em.
coming out of the woodwork. What the hell?
And they're so small when they start, and they get so big. A thing that I thought about a lot was I pitched this game, the studio said yes, and now there are people working on it. So, through various decisions that started with me, people are spending their one life on this planet making this thing. I would like to make it worthwhile. I put a lot of pressure on myself for that, to be like, in my opinion, you get one chance. You get one chance at life. Don't make it a bad experience. It's a little bit more of an existential thing.
Well, I asked you what the challenges are, and sometimes
that's the
challenges can
challenge.
be existential. But to take it back to a little bit more of a creative or business level element of this game, I'm curious to dig into the releasing and pricing structure and things like that of this game that all I think here's the thing. Since I've heard about this game and started hearing about how it was going to be priced and what it was going to play like and the early access, all these, the questions immediately started flooding in. And that's why I wanted to talk to you about this all the way back in March, is I'm like, there's not a lot of games doing it like Midnight Murder Club. And I just want to know how you arrive at these decisions that make this such a unique game. And so why don't we start first with the choice to launch the game in early access back in March. And so it's like, what is it? It's just a 5 or 6 month early access period. And so what was that process like, talking to the team, deciding this was something that you wanted to do? And then of course, like, what did you get out of having the game in early access for that amount of time?
Right. So this was my first time doing anything early access. It was almost everybody's first time doing anything early access, and it was Sony's first time doing anything early access, because we all wanted to try it. We wanted to learn. That's really where it started from. It was like, this is a gap in our studio's knowledge, is how to run an early access project. So let's do it. And let's, any project's as good as any to start it on. So let's start it on Midnight Murder Club. What I learned from early access is going to be very specific to Midnight Murder Club, and I think I'd like to talk to more people who have experience with it to see if there's like how much of it like lines up, or how much was like specific to a studio who didn't know what it was doing, type of thing, who was learning on as we went. But the main thing that I learned from it was getting really interesting data about how people played the game and giving us time to react to it, to try to fix some of their issues. For instance, wildcards was not scheduled to be part of our release, but we had some early play tests, and there was some feedback from those early play tests where they were like, there was just something about the game mode, some feedback, but like, I'd like more. I want to be in the mansion more. I want to be doing more. So Doug and I sat down, we were talking, like, what can we do? What can we do? And he was like, I don't know, what about if we just did random stuff? And I was like, hang on a second, that's where this game came from. This game, Midnight Murder Club, came from an original idea. It's like, okay, let me just open up that document. And we just went through all my ideas. We're like, could we do this? Could we do this? Could we do this? Could we do this? And we made wildcards in about 2 weeks.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because it's funny. I mean, that's the game mode I think of when I think about Midnight Murder Club.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the variety in the rounds.
So we were able to release the game in early access, and then I think it was even less than 2 weeks, but in a short amount of time, get wildcards out there. And as soon as we did, we were able to look at the data, and it's like, oh, here's people playing. Oh, now people are playing. That's when we released wildcards.
Cool. Yeah.
And then we were able to look at all the wildcards people were playing and be like, wow, people do not like this card. And people really like this card. But hang on a second. The reason they like the top 3 cards they liked was, we used to have a card that gave you infinite speed boost. And then we had a card that gave you night vision. and we have a card that gave you infinite bullets, and those were the top 3 cards. And I was like, okay, those are the top 3 cards. Do you know what that means? People are making Midnight Murder Club into a normal first-person shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got rid of those cards because like that's not what Midnight Murder Club is. Nobody yelled at us for that, thankfully. Nobody was mad, but I was like, that's what. Anyway, that's what we got to learn. That's it.
I thought something profound was coming.
Oh, it probably was, and then something else popped into my head. And...
Oh god. Well, I'm curious because obviously I've never launched the game into early access, and you, as this being your first one, what an early access launch feels like in comparison to 5-6 months later, the 1.0 full release of the game. Because I, as a player of, I play some multiplayer games. It's not my main mode of game playing. I always feel a little bit weird, like playing an early access game. Like, what I like about a game is playing like this is a full vision. And so I usually wait. Like even with Hades 2, I'm like, okay, I'm excited for this game. I'm going to buy it early, but I'm going to wait until 1.0. I always feel like there's a little bit of different energy on a player's side playing an early access game, which is when the game is out, when the game is available, but it's not quite there yet. And so for you launching the game in early access in March, well, how is that different? How did that feel different for you and the team versus the 1.0 of the game releasing in August?
So there's 2 ways it felt different. One is we knew it was unfinished. We knew that we were going to get feedback on certain things. Like we just couldn't get to those bugs. We couldn't fix those bugs in time, but they're not showstoppers. And then that feeling transforms as you get to the end of early access. When you relaunch in early access, you're like, okay, we're releasing. We know there's some bugs. They're not showstoppers. We can always fix them. And then because you never know what's going to happen after early access is over, the mindset that I got into, at least, and I would suggest other people get into when doing early access, is assume this is the last time you will ever update your game.
Sure.
So what is the ultimate version of Midnight Murder Club? That if we did not have the whole early access period, and this was the first time anyone ever saw and heard about the game and played it, what is the ultimate version of it? And that changes your priorities. There are some places in the mansion that I would still love to fix. Like this door gets stuck here and I don't like that. And I don't like how when you're walking through here, there's a stool that you don't notice and you bump into it too easily. When you're getting to your 1.0, your final release, it's like all that stuff just you have to put aside and be like, those are annoyances. What's the big issues? What are the big issues that you want to fix? But then when it comes to emotionally, the launch of early access for me on this project was emotionally different from 1.0 because we knew we were being announced during the Game Awards. So we got instant real-time reactions to our trailer. And then that's when we released our open beta at the same exact time. So not only were people playing, again, complete strangers were walking around in my mansion that I have been thinking about for 10 years, but they're also talking about it now. And they're saying words that I've been saying for who knows how long. Like people start saying the Wormwood Mansion, and I'm like, we can't say those words because oh no, we can say
need to
them
keep
now.
it in wraps.
We can say it now. Yeah. So I jumped on and I played, and I was during the Game Awards, and there were 2 guys playing, and they were still watching the Game Awards because all the conversation I heard was them talking about, oh, is this Sekiro 2? And I'm like, guys, I can hear you. I can shoot you from here. So I was very gentle to them, but it was just fun. It's like not only did they see it, but they saw that it was something that they could play right now while the Game Awards are still going. So they jumped in just to try it out, even though
very cool.
They were still interested in the Game Awards. So it's like these emotions are so mixed up because you're like, welcome to my game. Oh, mind that door. I haven't fixed that door yet.
Of course.
Oh, sorry. Mind the mess. I haven't finished vacuuming this room yet, type of thing. Like, it's still a little bit dirty. It's still a little bit messy. But now when I play it, after the 1.0, I don't think about those things anymore. Now I just play it. Because, I had to segment my brain. It's like, that was all that time during early access is when you really have the brain power and the ability to fix all your little problems. And now if you assume the game is done, like let's just, like, again, it's all in quotes because every game, we're constantly updating our games, but assume the game is done. Let's say for some reason I quit and move to Tibet tomorrow. Would I still be happy with the game afterwards? And now that I'm able to like have that in my brain, when I walk through the mansion, that door being a little weird is now part of the game. It is
that's that funny door. That's the creaky floorboard. Yeah, it's kind of charming.
It's the charm of the game.
Absolutely.
Now. Yeah, it's oh, that's what it's like when that happens. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what about the pricing structure of this game? The game has a friends pass element to it, where one person purchases a copy of the game, as I did, and then I say, "Hey guys, I have a game that you can play." Now, you don't have to buy it for yourself. Invite the friends in, play the game. And so that's not something that many games have. And if they do, it's a co-op game where you can invite one friend maybe. But Midnight Murder Club takes that a step further to where it's one copy of the game, and it's a full lobby of people with 2 copies of the game, ostensibly, in like the quote unquote worst case scenario. And so, how did you guys come up with that idea to do the Friends Pass to the extent that you did, and how has that sort of impacted the word of mouth of the game, the reception, things like that?
I'm gonna move my camera real quick. So I play board games. I got a lot of board games. That's about half of them. We were talking about that. Like, if I buy a board game and I invite 5 friends over, they don't gotta buy the board game.
Yeah. If you buy a pack of cards, your friends don't have to buy a pack of cards to play cards with you. That's very interesting. Never really thought about the difference there.
And what is a board game if not a party? So like, you come over to my house and we're gonna sit down and we're gonna play this board game, and we're gonna talk and we're gonna laugh and we're gonna eat food, and we're gonna spill drinks all over my stuff that costs a lot of money.
And I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it. I'm not still thinking about it at all, Alan. Jeez. But it is hard. We all know. I'm sure you know. There's a game you see, and you're like, this sounds really fun. I really want to play it. I think I want to play it with my friends. And then you show it to your friends, and they're like, eh. And you're like, oh, but let's just try it. And then they get the game, and they don't like it, and then you feel guilty that they just spent money on it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have tried many times to get my friend. I really think I'd like Siege, Rainbow Six Siege. I think I'd like it, and I've tried so many times to get my friends to play it, and a couple of my friends have even bought it, and we've never done. I just can't convince them, and I feel bad about it.
Yeah, the Steam libraries are full of those. They're like back of the fridge games where you bought it and forgot about it.
Yeah, and like what we wanted to do was say, if you want to play this game, and we know it's hard to convince your friends to buy games, and we know the economy is bad, and we know all this, we know competition is tough. What if you just bought the game, and then you could just invite your friends to play it? Or you could just say, hey, can you give me $2?
Mm-hmm.
And that will cover...
sure, to split the cost.
Yeah, and then split it. And it's like...
I've done that for like Jackbox. Like, maybe
exactly.
My friends like, oh shit, we don't have this one. Like, everyone Venmo me $3 and then we can like pick it up.
Jackbox is also geniuses, but they're also a very good reference for where this idea came from, obviously. But also, like you said, there are very few games that do this, and we wanted to try. Again, we just wanted to try. And I had said this before, when I was making this game, I hope it comes through, but generosity is something that I'm really interested in. And there are 5, 6 game modes in game, because I just wanted to be like, hey, we have these ideas. They were relatively easy for us to implement them. We think they're interesting. We think they're unique. We think they use light and dark in a new way. Try it out. It's part of the game. And invite 5 friends for free. Like, let's just be generous. And here's the wild cards. Like, you unlock wild cards as you play, but I never really wanted to do like, you need 100 XP, which means you have to play 8 games before you can get your first card. It's like, no, it's just, well, the fun is to have a bunch of cards. But also, it's fun, it's part of the design that you don't have a ton of cards at the beginning of the game. You need small amounts so you can understand. But then, it's just, you play a couple of games and you have a bunch of cards. Because the fun is in playing the game, not slowly unlocking the game. And it was just, again, just to be generous. And that's where this business model came from, is be generous. Show people that you value their time and their money by giving them a game with what we think is a lot of replay value, and what game isn't better played with friends? I can't think of one. So, and we know that this is a game about talking. Some people, that's a hurdle for them to talk in an open lobby, because we know there's toxic people on the internet. I hope I'm not introducing you to that idea for the first time. So, like, well, if you're a little bit nervous about that, don't worry about it. Invite your friends. It's free. It's free for them to play, and you're going to have a much better time talking to your friend because you're not interested in this other thing. So that's really where it came from. Was we think it's a good game. We think it's really fun to play with your friends. What's the easiest way we can get you to play with your friends? We can price it reasonably, and then we can make it free for them.
An element that I want to intersect here and then use this to build into a further question is how this game, your weird game that was on your computer for a decade, comes to be published by Sony Interactive Entertainment, the publisher of God of War and Uncharted and Last of Us and holy shit, and Midnight Murder Club is a part of that lineup. And I think it's so cool for like 3 different reasons, but for like, number one is I'm happy for you guys getting that kind of like backing and platform and prestige that comes with being published by Sony. And so what was the process or the moment of pitching this game to bigger publishers than even just Velen, and having Sony be the ones that pick up on that? What was that like for you? And then, well, actually, let's just start with that. What was that moment like, and how did that begin?
I'm extremely lucky in my career, and one of the biggest pieces of luck is knowing the brothers Karthik and Guha Bala, who run Velen. They've been in the industry longer than me. They know people. That's really it. They know a lot of people. So sometimes you'll be like, so I was, playing this game and I had this idea and it was this thought in the way this game works. And he was like, oh, that game? Oh, yeah, I know the creative director behind it. You want to talk to him? I'll be like, yes, I would like to talk to him. And that's really where this came from, is like they know people, and through their knowing, they're able to take like the demo we were working on and be like, hey, we're working on something. Can you look at it and just tell us what you think? And they'll show that to people, and they'll tell us what they think, and then eventually they show it to the right people, and those people show it to their friends, and they tell 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, and then before you know it, Sony's knocking, and they're like, hey, this seems cool. And then I'm like, this is just a weird little idea I had in 2015. Are you sure we're talking about the same thing? And they're like, yeah, we're talking about the same thing. And I'm like, this is insane. This is insane what's happening. Because I never would have thought, never, ever, ever in my life would have thought. Like I said, this was supposed to be a Gmod game built using Half-Life assets. Like I was going to build the whole thing using Half-Life assets. And now it is this fully arted, fully published by Sony game with amazing voices and animations and everything in it that I was going to try to do on my own. Like, come on. And now I don't have to, and all these other people see the value in the game. It's weird. It's wild because you don't think about it that often, and then every once in a while you'll be like brushing your teeth and be like, holy crap.
Yeah. And I'm curious then how that support from Sony, number one, if you have an idea of like when in development that ended up happening, and then how their support and their involvement impacted the further development of the game.
Yeah, it was pretty early on. Like we were able to get a demo spun up pretty fast in Viper, and it was pretty early on that just people would visit the studio and they'd be like, hey, you want to see what we're working on? And then like somebody would be working on it and they'd give you feedback. And then when you realize that the conversation is like, hey, anybody want to see this? And then it turns into like these specific people want to see it. Then you start meeting with them a lot more. And there is a little bit of like a timidness where you kind of feel a little bit like a little kid showing a drawing to like an adult. We're like, look at this drawing I did. And they look at it and they go, that's really good. And you're like, what? No, it's not really good. So you're having this conversation with these people over and over again, and they go into your game, and you feel bad shooting them because it's like, oh, they're strangers. They don't know any of this. And then they start shooting you, and then you hear their laughter, and then you have a debrief afterwards, and they're like, we get it, and we like it. What starts happening after that is really it's more yes-anding. Like, like the haptics on the PlayStation 5 controller are pretty amazing. A thing that, again, Matt Pirog, the audio person, took this on. All the little bits of rumble that happen on the controller. They sent a person to our studio to go to Matt's office, and they were like a person who helped like create the system or whatever, to teach him how to do it. And then he has like this intensive like 8-hour meeting with this guy. The guy goes back to wherever he came from, and then Matt's like, I know how to do it all.
He goes from whence he came.
Yeah. He goes back into the computer, and Matt's like, I know how to do it all. He's like, give me like a week. And now when a bullet whizzes past you, there's a gentle vibration on the right side of your hand.
Yeah.
And it's
so
like,
cool.
that was never there before. And that never would have been there before.
Yeah. The Magic Computer Man taught him.
Magic Computer Man, and we have access to like documentation and all this stuff about how the controller works. And yeah, it's really cool. And then what they also had was larger. They had, we played internally with the Velen people, but then they had a much larger group of people that they could access. So when we were doing tests, we could get like hundreds of Sony people playing. And now you're like, now all of Sony knows about this little tiny little game. Like that's awesome. And then they give all this feedback back to us. And
yeah. So with that, yes, and was there ever a point where they said no? Were these conversations where you're pitching the idea of the early access, which they've never done before, and Friends Pass, which basically no one's ever done before, and like this weird little game that's your little drawing? Did Sony ever tell you no, you can't on any of that?
Let's see. This isn't exactly what you're asking, but this was something that got shut down. For a marketing thing, we were like, it'd be fun during like DICE, I think it was PAX. It was strict PAX. Sorry. Josh, one of the head of marketing for Midnight Murder Club, was like, "Oh, this would be fun. We should rent out a warehouse, and we should turn the lights off and give everybody Nerf guns." And not just Sony, but a lot of people were like, "We're not doing that. Someone's gonna get hurt."
Sure. Yeah. It's an interesting liability.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I want to play that, but the thing that was really nice and really validating was it's a shooter. So there are some aspects of a shooter that feels like they just need to be there. You need aim down sight. Like as a shooter, you need ADS. You got to have ADS. And they would ask me like, how come the game doesn't have ADS? And I'd say, because I want the game to be about two things. I want it to be about light, and I want it to be about shooting. And I want the main two buttons on the controller to be, this is your light, this is your shooting. And I want the aspect of the party game is, I can just take someone new to the game and say, push this button to turn your light on, push this button to shoot. As opposed to, now I need to teach you how to play a modern shooter. Hold this button to aim down sights, that's going to steady your aim, and then push this button to shoot. Like, I just wanted to simplify the controls. And they went, okay, yeah, makes perfect sense. And that was it. Like, the conversation was over. It was just really nice. I realized you asked me, when would people say no? And I just told you a time someone said yes. But I think I am struggling for a specific time when they were talking about, like, gameplay or like, anything, design of the mansion, audio, any of that stuff. Even like the trailers, like there were some of them where I was like, can I get like a couple days? I just want to quickly rewrite some of this dialogue. They'd be like, but that's our job. But they wouldn't say that. They'd be like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah, it's your game. Rewrite that, and then we'll talk about it. So it was really. I always felt like, am I overstepping? Please, somebody tell me if I'm overstepping. Please tell me if I'm being controlling. Please, someone do that. But they were always just like, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you had like them a very comfortable, from what you said, dynamic with a big publisher that I think I would, and I'm sure you did, like feel intimidated by, just by the presence, or like the idea of this prestige. But they seemed pretty chill, all things considered, which I think people wouldn't expect. But I guess it's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very specific to my experience, and
yeah, of course,
it's a everybody knew what kind of game it was. Everybody knew it was a small game compared to like it was never meant to compete with God of War or something like that.
Yeah. Your game released just a couple weeks after the game that they published from Hideo Kojima.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's like not the same. We're not going to be sitting at the same table at the end of your ceremony. It was a lot of asking. They would ask me a lot of questions, and they gave me plenty of time to talk, and they would listen as opposed to orders from like a black box. A bunch of orders would come down, and then we'd have to fight. No, no, no! We're not turning the lights on. We're not turning the lights on. We're not turning the lights on. Like they never asked for the lights to be turned on, which is one of the biggest things. Maybe 2 weeks before we went into early access, a game was released on Xbox called Blind Fire, which was a first-person arena shooter in pitch black.
Uh-oh.
And I was doing backflips. I was like, how? I have been Googling for 10 years if anybody has made a game like this yet. And 2 weeks before my game comes out, someone releases a game in pitch black. They're very different games. Luckily, they're very different from each other, and they stand completely separate from each other. But that was probably...
I'm looking at the Steam page right now. This is not very pitch black. Midnight Murder Club is way pitch blacker.
Yeah, they've got more light. They've got more light. They got more stuff to like silhouette against. They got a different... Yeah, it's a very different gameplay. But the hook, the marketing hook, is very
FPS action in pitch black arenas.
Exactly. It's like that was the Midnight Murder Club marketing hook. So it was like, oh no. How is that possible? 10 years, and then 2 weeks before it's released, somebody scoops me finally. But again, luckily they're very different games. They're going after very different markets. If anything, it was like, okay, somebody else had this idea. It must be a good idea. Sure. If somebody else had the idea, it must be a good idea. So that was something that was very. I mean, it hurt. It did hurt, but eventually I was able to crawl out of the hole and be like, okay, this is fine. Everything's fine. This is good. It is better to have more weird games out there than not. So I'd rather have this game exist than not.
Yeah. Well, to the point of the market that this game is going after, I'm curious what you see as the market, as the type of player that this game goes for, as opposed to many other games. There are other shooters, there are other arena shooters, there are other games that are proc chat, other horror co-op party games. We talked about Lethal Company, Repo, these things. What kind of player does Midnight Murder Club go after that you think is a little bit unique? And then the further question, especially now that we're a couple months away from 1.0 launch, you've had this early access, how do you think the game has hit that audience? Has it hit that audience? What's your thoughts on the aim, and have you hit it?
When I was designing the game, the people I was thinking about were first off the streamers that I watched, and I'll just name them. I've watched over a decade's worth of the Yogscast and Hat Films and Kriken, Charborg, Buck, like all these guys who play games, but they disrespect the rules of the game in a fun way. If you've ever seen Kriken and his friends play a game, they don't play to win, they play to have fun. And that's what Midnight Murder Club was designed around. Is those people as well as my friends. When we play, like every Monday we meet up and we play some games. Sometimes we play D&D, and when we're not doing that, we'll play board games in Tabletop Simulator, and we'll like play a board game, and then we'll stop, be like, now what do you want to do? And we'll play a little bit of Jackbox, and we'll stop. Now what do you want to do? And then we'll play the Rift Tracks game, and then we'll stop. So it's like
Rift Tracks?
Yeah, there's a Rift Tracks game.
I don't know what that means. I've never heard that.
Do you know what Mystery Science Theater 3000 is?
Oh yes, I know that. What is
Rift Tracks?
Rift Tracks?
Rift Tracks, yes. It's another version of Mission Science Theater, but you watch a little clip and then you make up jokes about it and then you vote on the jokes. It's really fun.
Got it. Got it. Boom. Locked it in.
But again, it's like all of these games that we play are like, am I about to do what will make me win, or am I about to do something that will make Jacob laugh?
Which one's the more important goal?
Exactly. So that's who I think about. I think about the people who play a game. Again, going back to board games. If you're gonna have a board game night, you have your friends over. You're gonna play a smaller game to start, just to like get into it. Where that's the one where everyone's showing up and everyone's like getting ready, and then you're like, okay, we just played that for 20 minutes. Now let's play the game that we're gonna play for a half hour to 40 minutes. And then when everyone's kind of leaving and there's still only like 3 people left over, it's like, oh, let's just play a quick card game. And that's what I think about. I think about the people that play a little bit of this for a little bit, and then a little bit of this, then a little bit of this, and a little bit of this. And it's like, well, I think Midnight Murder Club can slot right in there as, let's take 20 minutes to a half hour, let's have a really fun time, and then let's play Jackbox.
Yeah, cool.
So that's who I like to imagine plays the game. Again, I like to imagine people playing the game who are me and my friends. So we just did we hit that? All I can say is that I know for sure is we just did some Q&A with some people from the Discord. We were like, we want to know why you play, because we think we know why, but we want to hear from actually you. So I sat in on a couple of those, and the first one I sat in on, I was pulled in because somebody was like, you should get in here right now, it's going to make you feel good. Because they were saying exactly that. They were like, how do you play? And they're like, oh, we'll play this for like a half hour, 20 minutes, and then we'll move on, and we'll go play another game or this every once in a while. So yeah, and we'll just jump in with my friends, and because of the guest pass, it's really easy to do because it's free for them to play. And I'm just like, yes, exactly, that's what I mean, that's what I wanted. You're the perfect audience for this game, is the person who gets that this is a game to be played for fun in that party setting, and you play as much as you want in that time, and if you want to move on to something else, Midnight Murder Club is always there waiting for you to come right back. It's not asking you have to play daily in order to get your dailies and to get your XP and blah, blah, blah. It's not asking for any of that stuff. It's just, this was a game you bought, this is a board game you bought, these board games sit on my shelf and they get played every once in a while, and I have fun with them when I play with them, and I can always come back to them.
That really guides me into a question that I have been wondering. If there was ever a conversation on the team, or from Sony, or from the higher ups at Velen, to have any microtransactions in this game, to have a battle pass of some kind, to have cosmetics that you can buy, because that is so much how modern multiplayer games are priced and structured, is around that extra potential money that can be spent. And I'm curious if that ever entered the conversation for Midnight Murder Club.
No, we never talked about that. If we did, it was in the concept of like DLC, like actual gameplay, as opposed to paying for customization. We did talk about like the possibility of doing like customization in game, but nothing that was behind a paywall. That just wasn't this game, and everybody understood and everybody agreed. I will say though that the guest pass, I was not on board with the guest pass at first.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't understand it, and I was afraid of it. I was afraid that it was like you're gonna cannibalize your sales, and people are gonna buy blah 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 blah. And then I just had to remind myself, and other people had to remind me, generosity. Just be generous. If you're generous with people, they're going to see that you, like I said before, you care about their time, you care about their money, and at least just try something. Just try it. So eventually I came around on it. But that was the bigger conversation one of the biggest conversations we had on the project was that it was never about microtransactions and like a reason that I really like it, that I really enjoy having these conversations is because I'm just a guy. I know what I'm doing until I don't, and when I don't know what I'm doing, I'm learning and I'm making it up, and we're making decisions. And there's very little stopping people from doing the same. So I have a lot of experience which makes it, in some ways easier for me to make decisions, in some ways harder for me to make decisions, because of my experience, I'm not going to make a decision that somebody else would make. For instance, Lethal Company. I think Lethal Company is one of the most brilliant design games ever made, and I could never have designed it, because the first time I played Lethal Company, me, my friend Jeremy, and my partner Jess, we got off the ship. I jumped off the ship. I had watched people play already, so I was like, I'm a pro. I jumped off the ship and I landed in quicksand and I died instantly. My first time playing the game, I didn't get to play the game for a half hour because I was dead. Neither Jess nor Jeremy knew I was dead. So they continued on. I would not have been able to design that game. I would have been like, the person just died, needs a chance to come back. So there's all these little decisions that are happening that I never would have designed because of, anyway, you get it. So the reason that I like having these conversations is because when we talk about how games are made and why they're made the way they are, and how come you don't just add multiplayer to your game, like all these questions that come up online, is like all these things have been answered in ways that come from a lot of internal conversation, a lot of internal reasoning, and for the most part, all these decisions were made with the best information that we had at the time. And decisions are also made depending on time and money and resources. And resources really is both of those. So like, something I really, really wanted in Midnight Murder Club is I wanted candelabras that you could pull and it would open a wall and you'd be in the walls. Like,
Oh yeah.
I wanted that so bad. There was no time. I did not have time to design it. The artist didn't have time to art it, and the engineers didn't have time to implement it. So like, yeah, it's a great idea, and people mention it to me all the time, and I really wanted to do it, but there was just no time. So we had to make that decision. Do we do this or do we cut it? And we cut it. So that's the thing that I just want to get across, is that we're just people and we're making games and we really love what we do, and we don't hate you. We don't hate people. We're not like being mean over here, like, doing all this. So if you have an interest in doing this, now is the best time to be able to do it. Because like I said, when I was growing up, I had no idea how to make a program on my Commodore 64. It took until I was in my 20s before like Unreal came out. Like, that took so much of my life, and now people are born with Unreal out. People are born with Bitly and Twine and Pico 8 and like all these, and Itch and like all these things. They're born with all this access to stuff, and I just encourage people to just try it, because the best way to understand why things are the way they are is to try it and be like, oh, this is really hard. This is really difficult to do. Now imagine doing that while you have a team of 8 people all waiting for you to make a decision. Like, that's really difficult. Like, I have to make a decision and I hope it's the right one. And there's 8 people that as soon as I say we're going with B, 8 people's lives are all going to be focused on making B happen. Oh, I hope that was the right decision. Like, yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And that's also why I do these interviews. I share that same thing of you. Like, this is why I have these conversations, is to elucidate the design process and have people understand these decision making. That's why I frame the questions through like, how did you feel about this? That kind of stuff. And I think we've had a really fascinating conversation here that I think hopefully a lot of people learned not only something about the game and you, but just the game design process and what it's like working with a team and pitching things and having a dwelling that you're going to show to your boss. Like, there's an energy here that I always feel when I play a game because of these conversations I've had. And I hope by watching these conversations, other people, when they boot up a game, they think about the kid with a dwelling.
Yeah.
That's actually like, you sit down, you play Death Stranding 2. Now I don't know if Kojima has these feelings that you do, but like, it's his dwelling, and
Yeah.
he had to get things okayed, and like these games are made by people, and that's why I sit down and do 50 of these in a year, which is maybe too many, but I like doing it. But thank you so much for chatting with me, Eric. Do you have any other stories or thoughts you want to share before we say goodbye?
Yeah, really that's it. Is just, if you have any interest in this, now is the best time to do it. And start big, start small. It really doesn't matter. just start, just try something. And I could show you the number of failures. Midnight Murder Club isn't the only prototype I've been dragging around with me. Like, I have so many started and stopped prototypes that just sit around. And what I did from making them is I learned. And even if you never release something, if you're interested in learning, if you're interested in developing a skill, just try it. Just try it. It's the perfect time, and it's fun.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much for joining me, Eric, and for everyone else. I will see you in the next interview.
Thank you.